It's a beautiful day for the mud flat. We're out here at Austin Estuary this morning, enjoying a semi-low tide, at least low enough for us to enjoy the beautiful mud that is this place. I'm Stina Troyer, your science specialist, tuning in from out in the dark depths of the mud flat. We just finished a presence absence survey, and so I'm gonna walk us along our transect, really the profile line here. So if you want to let me know where you're tuning in from, and if you have any questions as you go along, we're gonna see some things that we really only see here in Austin Estuary. So as we go along, I'll point out some snails and sea anemones that I've only ever seen in this place. So thanks for tuning in, and let's go for an adventure. Now, one thing that we've noticed at this site is how these little outlets from Donkey Creek, so there's a freshwater stream just over to the side of the Harbor History Museum there for your sense of place here in Gig Harbor, Washington. And this little creek changes all the time, meanders through this mud flat in all sorts of magical, wonderful ways. And today we're noticing that it got pretty close to our line, which I've actually moved into the creek to make it easier to reel up later. So, but you can see our little footprints. Some of them are pretty deep. I always have to really give credit to the people who show up for this event. Right now we're working with some UW students as well as some Pacific Lutheran University students, kind of a smaller team in the time of COVID, but they are troopers, because looking into these pits you can see it is slippery, it is slimy. Nobody surprisingly has fallen yet, but it's always an adventure when we're monitoring Austin Estuary. I've certainly had to have Mike pull me out of the mud. I think Abby was the lucky one getting out of that today. So I'm enjoying a nice walk in the creek, which is a little bit easier because you can see the substrate here is more of that gravelly cobble. You can see some barnacles and green algae. So kind of thinking about the data we've collected today, it's been a lot of barnacles, but also a lot of nothing. Some clamshells, some tube worms, which I'm gonna stay over on this side so I don't have to get stuck while we're doing a live broadcast. I can't promise anything, but those little tube worms in the mud. This is one of those beaches where, as much fun as it is, you're probably maybe feeling lucky that you're tuning in from wherever you are, because it's not exactly glamorous work out here. You can see, yeah, pretty scuzzy good. Woo, woo, woo. So for those of you watching, let me know if you have any questions as we go along and where you're watching from. I'm gonna make my way up to kind of that gravelly lump, because I think that's gonna be my best bet for showing off some cool critters to y'all today. So actually, before I get too far, I'm gonna release this stick in the mud so that we can roll up our transect. This is one of these beaches where you actually need 2 meter tapes, because you can kind of see at the top of the beach, there's our crew working and rocking that higher elevation work. And yeah, so the estuary here does have a new name, which I'm not quite, I watched a couple of videos about how to pronounce the name and I haven't practiced enough. So that is something that we'll be promoting a lot, and I can happily share some YouTube videos in the comments here to get that new name, because it gives tribute to the Coast Salish people who were here before colonization, I guess. And yeah, it's really cool, a good change, I think. So excited to promote that in future walks. So kind of made it to a little more stable, muddy ground still. And we're gonna take a look at some of these rocks. And really, I wanna look at these sticks because that's where I tend to find the striped anemones. So we'll take a peek under here and see if we're lucky. We might not be. Got skunked the first time, that's okay. But you can see this dark black. That's kind of the anoxic mud, so there's no oxygen in that mud, so it's pretty smelly. We'll put that back. Try another. You can see some little amphipods swirling around, barnacles, seaweed. Really, I could look at my data sheet and we could see, okay, where did we find the snails and the anemones? Was it in this section? Here's Mike rocking the zip tie shoulder tan. Thanks, Mike, for all your excellent work today. We're live. We're live and you're fabulous. Let's see. You don't get to see that every day, folks. This is the good stuff. Yeah, okay. So here's the snails that we've been noticing. This is a little, oh man, I don't actually remember what we decided to call it. I know we were puzzling over the identity of this, but I know we figured it out at one point, and so I'm not remembering what we decided this one was. We took a couple back to look at them under the microscope because they are tiny. But these little white snails are non-native snails here in Washington, but we find them here on the beach, so kind of cool to really, this is one of the main snails we've seen in this mudflat. So while they're non-native, I don't know that they're not necessarily invasive because they're not really taking over any place that other snails would be. We will see some other snail species up at the top of the beach. They're the Littorina, not checkered periwinkle, the other one. They have more of a ribbed shell. I think it's Sitka, but Sitkana. So we'll take a look at those in a little bit. But these little white snails I've only ever seen here at Austin Estuary, so what a treat for all of you tuning in to get to see these little guys. Let's see if we can find some striped anemones now. But quickly, I want to note Mike's excellent technique for rolling up a super silty, muddy, gross meter tape. You'll see his foot is in the water stepping lightly on the meter tape, and that's letting it kind of run through that fresh water as it gets rolled up, so we're not, having a big spool full of mud. And then you can see he's pulling the meter tape into the creek, and I'm gonna do some jump rope here, so woohoo! Okay, we'll avoid that as we go. Exciting things. All right, I'm looking for another good stick that's gonna give us some good anemone habitat. I don't know why they like these, but maybe they don't. I'm seeing some more of those snails. Again, you can really just see how muddy and scuzzy this beach is. Not for the faint of heart. Still kind of delightful though. It's like a spa treatment. Doo-doo-doo. This is how you know we don't pre-prepare our lives, because I could have just staged a stick for myself to be like, and here's the anemones, but you're on this adventure with me today, so thank you for joining the struggle of finding the creatures here on the beach. I am noticing the little roly-poly isopods here. Those are something we've seen a lot of today. They're pretty cute. They're a lot like, what you'd find in your garden. Iso means same and pod means feet, so they're a little marine invertebrate that have all the same feet. Amphipods, which we've also seen a lot of today, have different feet. So they have swimming feet appendages, they have walking appendages, they have eating appendages, whereas the isopods, most of theirs are for walking. Oops, sorry to lose focus there. The low tide today is just a -1.7. So We had a really nice low tide swing earlier in the month and are gonna have another one later. We're kind of in that still a nice low tide swing, but not quite as low or extreme as we've seen recently. But low enough to do this site because we don't actually monitor the -1 here. We just do the 0 and +1 because it's just more mud, which, you know, mud's important too, but yeah, just enjoying that. Okay, let's see. If I were an anemone, maybe I'd be on this rock. I'll try a rock out. Doo-doo-doo. Oh, not a ton of these little guys, but there's a green shore crab. That's been, it's exciting when you see something else other than just mud and barnacles. So that's a little cutie. You can tell if it's a boy or a girl, male or female, by looking at its abdominal flap. And sorry about the wind. This is a female little green shore crab. You can tell by the eggs underneath her abdomen there. See the mud in like every crevice of my fingerprint. But we'd call her gravid. She's like hiding out in my hand. She's like, I don't want to show off my babies today, thank you. So we'll just put her right back under here. And then as a good beach etiquette, it's always nice to put your rocks back, how you found them. I'm being careful to kind of off-kilter this rock just a little bit so it can settle back in without crushing our newfound friend here. Again, you can see more barnacles. I'm guessing we're getting a treat and we can even see the barnacle feces on this rock. These little tiny logs here are, to me, what I would guess is barnacle poo. Didn't think you'd see that today, did ya? Woohoo! All right, let's see. Okay, this stick right here is looking real promising. If there's not anemones on this, I don't know what to tell you. I'm gonna say I don't know what to tell you, but okay, there is one teeny tiny one here. These are the striped anemones, another non-native species found on this beach. This is a particularly tiny one, so it'd be good if I could find a larger specimen so we could really see those stripes. So I'll try to just focus in. That's not really working. So yeah, let's find, okay, this is good because we found an anemone. Now we'll see if we can find a larger anemone. Nothing there. Cool. Any questions, folks, for those of you tuning in today? Any wonders? Why would we monitor a mudflat like this? Those little things scurrying around are amphipods. Part of the reason we monitor Austin Estuary is because we got a grant to do it, and so that's always helpful. This is a beach that's very different from all of our other sites. All our other sites are kind of that rocky, cobbly beach. This is our only mud flat, kind of coming out of Donkey Creek here. And you can see there's some people having a picnic. So this is a beautiful place to come and watch the wildlife. I don't necessarily recommend trudging through the mud. I will say that our footsteps are somewhat disruptive to the fauna living in this habitat, but we only do this once a year in the summertime, so that's our yearly impact, I guess. We try to keep that minimized. Ooh, there's a nice big isopod, and ooh, a hermit crab right by my thumb. See, that's pretty cute. You can see its big claw kind of poking its head out there. Oh, we also have some mussels on this beach. They're surprisingly big for the kind of lack of substrate that's out here, but we have seen some nice big mussels. Middlestrossalus. Yeah. Maybe we can get our beach monitoring friends to help find a big striped anemone for us. All right, there we go. Just have to speak it into existence sometimes. There is the striped anemone with its tentacles out next to an isopod. You can see that yellow. I'm gonna set it down so I can rinse my hand off and focus in for you. So you can see the stripes on the body of that anemone, giving it its common name, the striped anemone here. Again, it's right next to one of those roly-poly isopods. This is pretty unique that we get to see its feeding tentacles out. Those are the same that a aggregating anemone, or really any anemone species, would have, where they have the stinging cells that will help the anemone capture food and bring it into its mouth, which also happens to be its butt. Amazing biology here. Gotta love the U-shaped digestive system. Sorry, I'm kind of wiggling. But you can see the stripes, yellow tentacles. That is my perfect specimen for you today. Hooray! Okay, let's go say hi to our high intertidal snails, and then I'm gonna help these folks clean up, and we're gonna get out of here for the day because we have collected the data that we need, which is a series of different counts at various tidal heights, as well as a big presence absence survey where we look at what's here and what's not out on the beach. I'll flip it this way. And you can see we started from the 0 to 3 meters and we went all the way to 156 meters. So this is a long beach. It's a lot of work, but also a lot of fun because you get to play in this wild, wonderful mud. How about that? Okay, so up in this high intertidal area, we see kind of a checkered periwinkle relative. Oh, wait, look at more of that stinky black mud. Beautiful. Really quick, cheers to our beach monitoring team. Everybody say hey. And then rocking Kinsey over there. Taking care of business. Love it. Okay. Cool snails. You can see some of this rockweed up in this higher intertidal area. This is a brown algae. And let's just roll this over. Okay, we have some more of those isopods. And then there's, let's see, there's some bigger ones that definitely show, ooh, here's a good specimen. All right, so this little high intertidal snail is different from the checkered periwinkle in that it has these ridges. You can see, okay, I'm embarrassed of my fingernails right now because it is so muddy, but this is that Littorinus sitkana or sitkana, I don't know, how do you want to twang things? Not a word I say very often, but you can also see it's on top of a red algae. So this encrusting red is called Hildebrandia, or just kidding, that's Ralphsia. One of those encrusting reds. Is this that the other
Littorina?
How do you oh down sitkana or sitkana? Sitkiana. There we go. Thanks, Mike, for the is this another one that I have on this rock?
Yeah.
Okay, good. So yes, so everything I've been telling you is still true, so that's always a good good thing to know. We'll put that rock back how we found it and put this one back in place. Yeah, so that's a cool thing that is another snail that we don't see on many of our other beaches, but for whatever reason, Austin Estuary is a treat and we get to see that here. And we'll end on this one looking at some lovely amphipods and isopods. That's a big old amphipod. And even some unidentified gooey eggs. So we get to end on a wonder of what that could be. How lovely. But for all of you tuning in, you got to, not go out in this mud today, so you're welcome. We are so excited to maybe start offering some in-person programs again in August. So looking forward to that. Looking forward to seeing you out on the beach. But go out and explore those low tides in the meantime, and keep tuning in and asking questions and sending us your wonders. We really love that, and really appreciate the support of this student team that we're able to, get out in the field, get some field experience during this kind of weird field season time. So thank you all for watching and seeing some creatures we don't normally get to see. It looks like we're heading in and calling it a day, so I'm gonna go catch up with the crew.